The 25th Hour Radio Show.
Well, just so everyone knows, Dan is the editor-in-chief of High Times Magazine. But before we get into the magazine itself, I'd like to get a little background information. How did you first get involved with High Times? I mean, how did you end up working for the magazine?
Well, years ago, one of the editors was a good friend of mine, and he was doing a story on Quanah Parker, who was the Comanche Indian chief who brought peyote and founded the Native American Church. So I was the photographer for him, and that was back in 1991. So I've been with the magazine a long time, and that's how I kind of got started with the High Times crew, and it's been a real experience.
You know, as far as the magazine itself, it's been around for a long time, I think 40 years, right?
That's correct.
What exactly is High Times?
We're basically a magazine about freedom. We are a political magazine first and foremost, and we champion cannabis. But we champion individual freedom more than anything else. We are a political magazine, and we are involved in advocacy journalism. And cannabis is an extremely important issue. It solves many, many of the problems we have in America. So that's how we feel about cannabis at High Times.
You know, as far as the magazine itself, is its popularity increasing due to the fact that we're, and I want to say this, slowly starting to see a change in the tide concerning marijuana laws in the United States?
I would disagree. I think, we had a long, slow period there where nothing happened. Then suddenly it's been meteoric. Since like 2012, we've been seeing everything, all the dominoes falling. So absolutely High Times is flourishing. Think about it. We have 160 pages in our magazine now. Time and Newsweek. Newsweek doesn't even exist anymore, but Time and Sports Illustrated, they have 68 pages. We have tremendous advertising. People know that we're the magazine of record, and people know that their advertising dollars are going to go a long way with our audience because we are a niche magazine to the nth degree. We know, if you are interested in cultivation, you're interested in cannabis, come to High Times.
You know, I'm 42 years old, Dan. 20 years ago, if someone would have told me, we would have two states where recreational marijuana use was legal, I would have thought they were crazy. But here we are, still a very, very long way to go. But if someone would ask me that same 20-year question today, I would think they were crazy if they said it wouldn't be legal across the board.
I think you're right. I'll tell you, I believe that we're going to be long gone before we see exactly what happens with our cannabis economy. We're just laying the foundation right now. The cannabis industry is in its infancy, so we still have a long way to go. And once again, like you said, we only have 46 more states that have to get recreational marijuana on books, and that's what our ultimate goal is. So people can use cannabis freely without fear of arrest.
There's been a ton of celebrities on the cover of High Times. A lot of these celebrities have millions of followers on social media. They're tweeting, they're Facebooking. I know High Times has almost 5 million likes on Facebook. So my question is this: how much is social media and how much will social media play a part in getting these marijuana laws changed in the United States?
I think social media has been the real impetus behind all of it. People are exchanging information all the time. They are exchanging the truth about cannabis. They're not listening to the government's propaganda anymore. And people are connecting up. The great thing about cannabis, it is a networking plant. People meet each other and find that they both smoke marijuana. They have a lot in common. They see the world in a lot the same way. It's a great binding plant. People really come together and start communicating. So that's what we see. So that's social media. That's what social media is all about, is really connecting.
As far as the states that have changed the law to where it's legal to smoke pot, are they also educating people on marijuana? Because you're probably getting, a lot of newbies crossing the state line, wanting to try different types or strains. Do the people who sell the marijuana guide them on what they're looking for and educate the smoker on strength and potency of the pot?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's up to the cannabis industry to educate people because the politicians don't know anything. They come up with the strangest laws and the strangest provisions for cannabis that don't make any sense. For example, they come up with a provision in Connecticut where you have to grind up everything into powder. You can't have buds. Andrew Cuomo here, our governor in New York, says that you can only vaporize if you're a medical patient. So absolutely, the politicians and the bureaucrats really don't understand cannabis. It's the industry itself who is advising people. And, we'd really like to see it become mainstream so people can find the proper strain for their ailment or for whatever floats their boat. I mean, that's the great thing about cannabis. It can help in so many different ways. And, it's completely unbelievable. For example, when you come back from vacation, you go through customs and you go through the duty-free area and you have these great big supermarkets full of cigarettes and booze. The government is asking you, hey, buy this. It's cheap. It's absolutely amazing. Everything is upside down still, so we got a long way to go.
Before we start to wrap things up, I want to ask you about this. Each year you guys have what you call the Cannabis Cup. I know that has to be a big yearly highlight for you. What exactly is the Cannabis Cup?
The Cannabis Cup now is stateside. It's not just yearly. We have 8 cups going on this year. The Cannabis Cup is it's like the Academy Awards of Cannabis, where the best strains are being determined by panels of expert judges. And it's also a networking event. We have hundreds of vendors who come here who set up shop and showcase their businesses for the public at large. And it's also a concert. We have great concerts on our Saturday night. We have the San Francisco Cup coming up just next weekend at the Cow Palace. I'm really looking forward to that. We are no longer in Amsterdam. Amsterdam is, as the United States is going forward on cannabis favorability, Amsterdam and Holland is going the opposite direction. We are planning to go to Jamaica in November for our first Cannabis Cup in Jamaica. So we are an events company as well as a media company now.
As far as social media and websites, where can people get all the information about High Times and what you're trying to do as far as changing the marijuana laws?
hightimes.com, baby. And cannabiscup.com. That's where you can find out the information and buy High Times. Then we have, as you said, we have 4.5 million likes on Facebook. We post so many articles on Facebook. It's a great way to connect up with High Times. Really, it's a big community. And that's the great thing about the Cannabis Cup. It's really, really linking up a whole community and making us stronger. So, we're enjoying this great crest of success that the favorability of cannabis is allowing us to enjoy.
Well, Dan, thanks again for being a guest on the show. Good luck with High Times and all the best on your quest.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.